Now you may notice that I'm in my other room. I'm usually in this room when I like stream video games or whatnot. I'm actually getting my PC that's in the other room that I do my solo videos, the videos that I guess when I was doing my show, all those are done in a completely different studio. And I'm getting that PC rebuilt, so it'll be a few days before I'm going to be back there. But nonetheless, let's talk about the topic today. Certainly here, you guys get to see my old overlay and everything. So today I want to talk about. Look, I'm very passionate about this subject matter. And I guess I got to preface it because people may come across this video and they're not knowledgeable on my old material. So let's see if I can set it up quickly. Okay, so I do. Look, let me say this. Video games are the industry right now. It used to not be like that. Video games were more, I don't want to say niche, I guess it's not the proper term, but it was one of those kind of hobbies that you were either into or just was not in your thing. So pretty much every gamer was a gamer. Now it's far more casual. It has introduced a lot of people that aren't really gamers, but they do play games. And it's a positive because, well, you got more money fluctuating, which means more, I guess, higher budgets and more investment in the industry that it is that I love and many of you love. On the other hand, you do have, well, the people that are going to try to appeal to the lowest common denominator. And I think that's what's hurting gaming a lot right now. And I think it's an aspect that's actually slept on because people don't really consider it, and that is the overall experience of the game. I do think that a lot of studios do themselves in by even having difficulty settings because, not oftentimes is it even done in a creative way. It's usually, these guys are now bullet sponges and all of that. And, when you have people, let's say if you have 4 difficulty settings, and even if it's not done, let's say in a way that's intelligent, let's say that, well, you're going to have people that have completely different experiences. And when it comes to your ratings of your game, if someone is playing on easy mode versus someone is playing this on hard, that's a completely different experience. And you're not, like, I know some people look at it like, well, I know that you're going to disagree. Some of you, hey, well, what's the big deal? It's no, their experience doesn't mean that they're interfering with yours. And that's not what it is that we're discussing here at all. It's that, well, when you're trying to, the game's actual development can hurt when you're trying to actually capture that, I guess, lowest common denominator really is more accurately putting it. And you're trying to be the master of none, essentially. And I think that's what a lot of games are suffering from. I do love what an Elden Ring introduced because it did have the mainstream appeal, but the game was the game. And yeah, there was different experiences depending on what classes and stuff that you were. However, it was a difficult game, as most of the Souls games are, and they didn't try to turn away from that or anything. And there was no actual easy mode. The experience was the experience, and I think more games would help themselves out in the event that they actually did that. But when you're trying to appeal to people, as you guys see my old thing here, but when you try to appeal to people that aren't actually gamers, also the streaming element and the I guess the online or internet, as far as how it's changed, it's not more so magazine stuff. Like you see stuff like this and it'd be buried in like a magazine or something, and now it's more these guys are really getting their money on people clicking on that. So people are trying to get the reviews out ASAP. And I think those guys, of course, are going to prefer that the games be the easiest that they possibly can. And of course, this is the topic. Atomic Heart, you guys may have played it. Some of you haven't. Nonetheless, this is what this person is saying. Atomic Heart is twice as fun on easy mode. Now, look, read some of the stuff it is this guy said. Like, it's hard to believe that Ari is an actual, like, gamer per se. I hate this idea that people are like, oh, well, I have a job, I don't want to shut up. Like, I don't know where this whole non-talking point came from, where all of a sudden people think gamers and people that, let's say, may prefer more challenging games don't like have jobs or kids or children or something like that. Like, mindlessness to a lot of us isn't fun, let's say that. But this is what this guy has to say. He says Atomic Heart is a hostile game. You can only manually save at dedicated save stations. You have to stomach an entire script worth of juvenile humor, which I've seen some criticism of the game being in its dialogue. The slim offering of accessibility settings, they love that term now, is genuine disappointment, to say the least, but there is at least one way to make the first-person shooter a tiny bit more approachable. Atomic Heart difficulty settings, and you see that you have Peaceful Atom, Local Failure, and Armageddon. These settings don't appear to alter the number of enemies you face or change the parameters on any mission. They do, however, tweak some damage you deal and how much damage you receive. You can swap between difficulty levels on the fly. What difficulty setting should you play, they say? They describe Peaceful Atom as only the plot will keep you on your toes. I found it to be anything but. Some bosses have still killed me, particularly those that rely on quick time event switching, which I'm not a fan of those. By the way, he says in the more frenetic combat encounters, I found myself overwhelmed by enemies scrambling to survive and regularly failing. On easy mode, Atomic Hearts feels like a typical first-person shooter. Look, man, I'm willing to bet money that this game ain't like on easy mode. It's a goddamn breeze. Like straight up. This is probably a guy that can't, separate his hands from his feet in terms of how good he's, and that's fine. Like some people just aren't good at games. What I object to is this idea that this makes it a better experience because, well, you couldn't play it because you suck at it or something of that nature, and then therefore the game's better. Like that's just nonsense. By contrast, local failure comes across as less of a challenge, more of a taunting the middle finger, as if the game itself is booing you from the sidelines, prepping you with ripe tomatoes and daring you to give up when you try to clean up the mess. While some missions have a healthy number of saves, others, including the first major one, are stingy and with how frequently they let you save. Too often have I lost not insignificant amount of progress due to a robot I did not see or hear. This falsified tension ultimately incentivizes backtracking to save stations, turning what should be a confident march to the finish into an exercise of incremental progress. But playing on peaceful Atom difficulty has allowed me greater appreciation from the game. I switched difficulty levels during one early boss against a fire-breathing giant mutant and haven't looked back. I've been able to use melee weapons more effectively against cannon fodder, conserving ammo for tougher fights, which in turn has let me get better acquainted with Atomic Heart's 50s inspired arsenal. It has allowed me to freely experiment with its array of skills instead of relying on the few I learned to trust in the opening hours. And best of all, the save spots actually feel safe. So this person is now able to waltz through the game. That is my old streaming one. But this person is able to waltz through the game. And man, I got it. Obviously, I'm in a different room. But to them, that's better. Right? As the title says. It's twice as fun, they say, on easy mode. Man. And I think this is going to plague the industry, definitely with streamers, because streamers, and I say this as a guy that streams games, they want to move on to the next game. So any game that they have to have some sort of struggle where they may be playing it for definitely these variety streamers, they're trying to get in and get out. Excuse me. So having easier modes are going to be what happens. But I think people talk about how mundane the industry feels right now, especially among AAA, but not exclusively. There's a lot of AA, single A titles that are also just not good, really not good experiences. I think a lot of that suffers because people are so focused on this opinion that, well, the most people that can play it and access it, well, if you lower the ceiling, well, that's going to make for a better experience. And I guess they think that that's going to give them more money. That's just not the case. Because now you have several different experiences here. And, it's largely gimmicky anyway. And, that's a problem. That's a fundamental issue. So I think entertainment in general, there's nothing wrong with not being like, there's games that I just don't like. Okay, so that's fine. Not every game should be made with every single individual in mind. But what I reject is that games are, because they're easier, per se, that means the game is better. I can't speak for your individual experience, but this idea has plagued this industry, and I hope it does get fixed. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app.
Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.